Alright folks, welcome back. It is day 33. Today is new set day. We covered all the sets except we had no trouble with all the sets except for the previous. So that is to be expected. We drew a bunch of blanks. Let's see if we can cover those blanks quickly and then introduce our new set. Right. We have the next 2 days to do so. Oh, quickly though, I need to gather some emotional support. Hello? Just as I ended my stream, you started yours? Oh, well, what a coincidence, Pika. How was your session? Alright, we gotta click emotional support. Little one of those eyes. Inu-chan. Ah, one more. Alright. We also had to wave, virtual wave to the little goober in the staircase. Hello there. One day you'll come down. One day. Alright. So, it was good, but he got mad that Duolingo translated on as 30 because it was teaching it in the concept of time like 30. Oh yeah. That's a funny story because when it's teaching the concept of time, colloquially, I'm not actually sure if British English is different, but 15, 30, and 45s don't typically like. It's a that's a interesting one, and here's an interesting thing that isn't like it's adjacent. In Chinese, you don't say it either. They call it quarters, even though it's the concept of time. And I still remember this to this day. Sanju, yeah. I think somewhere along the line though, Duolingo does use Sanju, but I don't know if I can recall at the moment. However, in English, it's weird because it's generally I would say 30. However, my peers and around me would say half pass. And not even half before, but half pass. As in like it's and here's the thing too. A lot of times it's before the next big thing. It's often before the next big thing, but after the next thing. Yeah, you say half past too. Yeah, so it's interesting that even then, right? Even though Han says half, they didn't translate it as a half past the time. They went with. Oh wait, did they say half past the time? I actually don't know. So yeah, that's a interesting thing, and I haven't yet got the opportunity to ask a Japanese person if they prefer, like, if they, someone who is closer to English, like an English speaking Japanese person, if they prefer to say half pass for that symbol or not, which is kind of funny. Oh wait, Duolingo says something like 3.5, right? Or something like, no, did they? I don't remember anymore. Yeah, but I can totally understand that. I don't even know how to express quarter. I'm not sure if Japanese have quarters. Oh, they said 3:30? Oh, and you mean they typed out 30, the word 30 as well. Yeah. Fair. Funny, you know, you discover these things about English, right? I'm not sure if I've ever seen the Japanese written as. Oh, and here's another thing that would be worthwhile. I think most of the time they would use the Arabic numbers, like as writing. If you're gonna see the writing, it's going to be like if it's like I don't know, say it's 9:30, it'd be written as 9:30. Neither neither Roman characters nor the Japanese, as far as I have seen it on like signs and stuff, but I haven't seen time expressed on like parchment. That's totally understandable though, Mika. Totally understandable. It's fine to say Yuhan is 10:30, but the specific situation was asking what the standalone kanji is. Oh, okay. That's not the. Yeah, so how often have you encountered this situation? I feel like that can be an isolated situation for you, Hika. Or at least for Duo. So since Duo, right, a lot of times Duo is contextless in the kanji section. When they're doing kanji, is contextless. So you're basically responsible for all the context. And yeah, if you knew the context for 30, were there other choices to confuse you? Or like what I mean is like, did they throw in like half as another choice? So you picked a half and it was marked as wrong? So like it's pretty much the thing with Duo. No, the other choices were nonsensical. I see. Like pizza and sushi. Oh, okay. Yeah, welcome to the world. Here's the thing, Ika, Hikawa. Um, I don't wanna like defend this per se. Eventually, hear me out here. Hear me out. When you start the course, it's the way Duolingo like structures how to confuse you, right? Or like try to like sneak by you is that eventually there will be so many like synonyms and antonyms that the really nonsensical choices get replaced by either near choices or relational choices. So like by the time like where I am when I see hun, I will see 30 half, 30 half, and like 2 or 3 different reads of hun, as in that character. That character will have more than 5 meanings. So when you're, or like more than 5 meanings, so they would cycle through all the meanings as all the choices. However, in the beginning, there's no like other choice. They just stick to the unit. So whatever character the unit belongs to, they put in those things or before it. So hold on tight. And I think your anger, like your frustration with knowing that Han is half and 30, I think it's gonna come in handy. Like I know it's kind of like frustrating or like something. In the long run though, you will know more meanings in the long run, because it doesn't, yeah, like you said, it's only a very specific context, and you're gonna have to know all those specific contexts yourself, because gonna be real with you, Duo, that's one of the major criticisms, and that's true. They don't provide enough context, so you have to come up with all the context. Yeah, no, it's really fun. I say it's my favorite part, but it is so, it's very patient, but you can see it happen. Like every time you put like whenever you get a phrase that deals with the e, the day kanji, immediately you will know that there will be like 20 lessons in a row where all the choices have that kanji in it. And it would be choices that don't deal with days, just it's related by kanji. And then it could be a kanji that sounds like he or ka, or so much later it gets like really, really more like trickier for fun. And you kind of, in my opinion, I got used to it. You, on the other hand, I think you noticing all these things is kind of like how I felt in the beginning too. And then later on, it kind of ends up being like a, oh, I see what you did there. Like, yeah, I see what you did there. You deliberately try to trick me because there are 3 different ways to interpret this. So which one are you using? So I hope you stick with it a little bit longer, right? There's a method to the madness. Hello there, username. Hello. The reason why I say this is, I don't think my enjoyment, I know lots of people say like their enjoyment of Duolingo basically just dips. Like it's so slow that eventually immediately dips. So the beginning is very casual, like, oh, I like it. And then it's kind of gradual, and then the pace doesn't ever pick up for quite a long time. So most people just move on. They move on to something more their pace, maybe like Wanikani and something else. However, at some point, it becomes obvious that, or at least to me, it becomes really interesting that what they were building is something different. However, with that said, I haven't really done any other things. So outside of Shashingo, and like graded readers, so can't really comment on the others. Yeah, I do remember you, Aryan. Hello. All right. So as much as I want to, I don't want to. If you decide, like, Ikawa, if you decide to like drop Duolingo, I could totally spoil things and whatnot, but I'll let you go about your thing and how quickly you become aware of all the weird things that Duo end up doing, because I like to like compare notes. So thank you for the share. My thought, I have a lot of thoughts that I would totally want to share about the Han situation. The other situation coming up soon is probably the Ka situation. This, if you, I don't know if you already got it, but this character, I think this character, stick with it. Yeah, I think this character is probably the first one, and there are errors, or okay, there are like, just to tease a little bit, there are audio, quote unquote, like audio errors with this, but it's kind of a funny one because it's like, it's kind of an error, but it's not an error, largely because of like Japanese's onyomi and kunyomi. So, and you find this quite a lot everywhere. We'll talk about it when you hit it. It's probably the most common discussion I have with other people who stuck with Duolingo. I think it's funny. Others think it's really frustrating. So either way, both the people who think it's funny and both the people who think it's frustrating remember it really, really clearly, which is kind of humorous in the long run. So I feel like tuck that frustration under your belt, and I'm sure it will be very, very difficult for you to forget that Han means half, and then 30 in that very specific context. I totally get it though. Thanks for the share. All right, let's see how much I remember from yesterday on this set, and then we gotta write new sets. I also have to slightly keep on time today because I have a chat this evening with a friend. and I'm looking forward to it. So how are you doing, Arian? And how are you doing now, Hikawa? With everything after that? After your Duolingo session. What's up, Sub-Zero? How are classes, Sub-Zero? How is it going? Alright, so let's do green. I'm gonna start with... Anya. Anya. That's a gross looking... Yeah, but that's okay. The point is there. Okay. Okay. Yeah? No. No. That is not it. Why does this look crooked? Okay. Chumon suru. Chumon suru. Erabu. Of, that's why I haven't been around so much. I'm sorry. You got this, Sub-Zero. You're doing okay, Hika? Good to hear, good to hear. Of. Give me some more details. Give me more details, folks. As long as you're comfortable with it, of course. Abu. Yaku. Yaku. Sticker. Haru. Not to be confused with the other Haru. I don't want to keep interrupting. I get self-conscious about it. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. That's understandable. I appreciate it. I look forward to exchanging more about Japanese and little like characters and stuff. You know, whatever you express to me and whatever I express back to you only reinforces that understanding of Japanese. You know? I'm sure this discussion will embed Han for the rest of your days. Let's see, Haru. I guess. Wait a minute. Yes. For 2 of the electives I'm taking this semester, one of them is technically a prerequisite to the other, so I'm really struggling with catching up with that course so I can follow along with it. Oh, so you're double stacking. Oh. How'd you manage to pull that off? Because you had like a equivalent prerequisite, so they're like, ah, okay, that's fine. What you do? Cheat the system? I'm kidding. I have been in a situation like that before, although it might have turned in my favor. I remember studying abroad in New Zealand, and I signed up with 2 classes with like my best friends, and they had a prerequisite for 2 of them, and we're like, I don't know. They said we can take it, so we'll take it. And then we were really super concerned that we might be like way out of our depth, and it turns out it was okay. We aced it. But not equivalent, you haven't had that at all. How'd you get into a class that you don't fill the prerequisite? Did they think it's alright if you learned them simultaneously? The 2 classes for my friends and I were animal physiology, animal physiology, and instrumental chemistry, or it might be called instrumental analytics or something. And we're like, well, we didn't take the prerequisites. We don't know anything about animal physiology. And it was okay. Like, you know, semantical knowledge. They don't strictly require you to have it, but they essentially said at the start of class that it would be very tough if you haven't had it. I see. So, are you going to do some personalized crunch to get the foundational knowledge so that you can, like, have enough of the syntax, you know, the contextual understanding in order to keep up, take in the knowledge? How far off do you feel your comprehension is? That's so interesting. Usually in over here in the United States, like, prerequisites are kind of like set in stone. At least how I went about it. I'm just barred from it. Hagas Isai. Is that a common thing? Yep, that's what I'm doing now. Basically trying to cram that whole course into a few weeks of studying. Yeah. Getting cursory knowledge and I obviously I have no idea about your discipline. However, getting cursory knowledge and conceptually interpreting like a bigger picture is often sufficient, in my opinion. So, hopefully you have some sort of resource to get generalized interpretations, as opposed to trying to cram all the nuances, right? It can be very off-putting, but in this case, I can't believe I'm saying this, but generalize for a crash course. Oh boy. I know how that feels, honestly. If you're so used to detail-oriented nuances, like being ready and being promoted, this could be an incredibly uncomfortable situation, which I have been very uncomfortable before. Like, oh, I have like 100 billion questions, but just accept the fact that this is true, and then move along. That's kind of how it, in my opinion, how it generally feels. It's kind of like learning a new language, isn't it? Sub-Zero. You go into the language, it's like, no, okay, just start. Like, here's some things. Use your rote memory, and just accept this as true. Come up with some really outside of the box context to frame some of this stuff, but know that you won't ever be able to appreciate within the context. So provide your outside context for the memory for the time being, and then hopefully your class or your exposure fills in the rest. It's kind of like the first 2 or 3 weeks of language learning. Like, if you go like straight from like English to Japanese, it's like, okay, here are the things. Don't ask questions. Just take it in. Just know that these are the raw patterns, and then slowly fill in the gaps. At least that was my approach, obviously, and it definitely comes from academia. It's frustrating because the teacher in the prerequisite course is putting out one PowerPoint at a time, so it's essentially, oh, so you can't use the point of reference from your school's curriculum to get ahead in the prerequisite. No textbooks or no preloaded stuff, huh? Dang. Yeah. Yeah, you have to. Oh, okay. So you still have a book, but that's kind of tough. Does the book have review sections? You could take all the summary chapters and all the bullet points, slam them into a piece of page, like slam them into a page and see if they already make sense. If they don't make sense, then you go back and you can double check the nuances enough to make sense. There, if it's a textbook, I imagine there's like, oh no, but it might not be a traditional textbook because you're in an advanced thing now. So I don't know if the book curriculum is out, but I feel like there's so much redundant stuff in there, and I don't know what's important and what's not. Ah, yeah. Yikes. Well, that's certainly a predicament. Listen, I don't know what to tell you, Sub-Zero, but you done goofed. Nah, I'm just kidding. I hope you find a way. I hope you find a way. I don't know enough about what's going on to comment on how to go about it. Obviously, different disciplines have different types of workarounds with context. You done goof, kid. You done goof. Joking. Yet again, another reason I can call you a kid. How is it going though? Do you have a plan of attack on how to go about catching up? Okay, so Tori, Dental Teki. I'm just going all out on this one course for the next 3 weeks, and I'll have to set aside my other 3 courses in the meantime. Okay. 3 weeks. That sounds pretty solid. How long do your courses usually last? 3 weeks is a extreme crash course for sure. To condense the material. Dental Teki. Kodai. Guru. Too far away. Jinja. Ojigi suru. I really hate the fall semester. It's all crammed into 3 months instead of 5 to 6 like this. Oh, that's interesting. You have asymmetrical semesters? Three months till exam season. There genuinely should be less courses during the fall and more during the spring, but it's the same for winter. Interesting. Asymmetrical semesters. I'm guessing then that's because your winter season is long. You have like a long winter break or something, like 2 months of winter break. Yeah. Before you resume again for spring. About oh, wait. How does that work? 3 months. They start now. You get it doesn't add up. Yeah. Okay. All right, I won't think about it too. All right, that's interesting. Wow, 3 months. Wait, September. Oh, because okay, you always take it super easy. Well, get to cracking. Honestly, here I have a take on this, Sub-Zero. I feel like flipping it is more my jam. You know, you start easy, you finish strong, right? That kind of thing. But it seems like what you guys have is like hit the ground running and then stagger to the finish line. Listen, hear me out. I'm thinking of an analogy, right? You know how when you're if you ever watch, I don't know if you do, but if you ever watch like a long distance runner or like a person who's trying to increase their distance, one of the first things I think about is you often try the most classical, not that everyone does this, the most classical is you go out leaning into the speed and then you kick near the end, right, to the finish, right? You finish strong. So I immediately just think like you have like a Norwegian runner next to like a I don't know, like a Jamaican runner, right? Suddenly like the Norwegian, which by the way, I don't know about Norwegian runners, but you know, Ingebrigtsen, notwithstanding, right? Ingebrigtsen, I don't know if you know anything about track right now, but he's kind of lighting up the thing. All I can see is like you're just like bolting ahead, and then right halfway point, everyone just passes passes you. The pacing, man. 3 months crash course. Well, I won't hold you to, I won't hold you up. Keep at it. I would love to hear what you end up learning in 3 weeks and how it works out. You actually kind of make me excited. Like, I kind of want to take up that challenge. Like, if I wasn't language learning, how much knowledge do you think I need to actually even start on the prerequisite course that you have? Oh, you have a backup? Oh, that's excellent. Because whenever you tell me something like that, I get very interested in like, you know what? Let's do it together. Like, I would love to see the challenge of trying to come up with a crash course and learning the material in 3 weeks. Yeah, no, I mean like literally, the course that you're taking. How many is there a prerequisite for your prerequisite that you're doing right now? I'm not saying I will, but it is a really fun thought. If I wasn't language learning, there's prerequisites to the prayers too, though. Unfortunately, oh, okay. So it's not an entry level course. Okay, because if you were foundational building, I could see myself being really entertained trying to cram the thing in 3 weeks. I haven't done cramming in so long. It honestly, nowadays, when people say that I'm working really hard or learning a lot of material in a very short amount of time, that I honestly don't think most of this stuff come even remotely close to what I have done in the past. Like there were times when I had to come up with like a way to summarize like a 3-year experiment in 3 days. So like because deadlines change and like opportunities change, so you're like, oh no, oh no, all right, well, time to burn the midnight oil. So you just get your trusty source of caffeine, know that you're not going to sleep, maybe like order everything to be delivered to your door, and then spend the next 3 days trying to work through three years of data. And then, you know, the 3 years of data require all their background information. So you have to like familiarize yourself with all the nuances and, you know, different interactions of all the data. You only got the data, and then you need to be able to interpret it. So you spend the whole time finding foundational and like all the specifics to properly frame and interpret the data. Like yeah, crunch time. You know. Maybe. Hey, Sub-Zero, real talk. Maybe like further down the line, if you're ever learning something foundational, I would totally love to brainstorm about how to go about it, or maybe even do it. I'm interested in acquiring new skills all the time, right? And if the opportunity lines up, I would love to. I don't want to tease this too much, but there maybe like a year or two, I do plan on getting like a more sound friendly area so I can go and revisit my guitars. So that's kind of one of the skills that, and maybe take my violin out of retirement. I have like 2 violins sitting somewhere. Skills, really fun. I like developing fundamental skills. Real talk though, it's probably gonna be me playing scales on the guitar for like 6 months straight before I even tackle anything else. For electronic courses, I could see that being a course in signal processing. Doesn't really require much, if any, prior electrical engineering knowledge, more so just math fundamentals. You're gonna take that next year? Yeah, I see. Signal processing. We'll have to talk about that next year. Noru. Learning is so much fun. Exhausting, but man. Okay. Right. Shukyo. You would prioritize Chinese. Listen, I'm still holding you to Chinese. Don't even at me, okay? I'm gonna at you all day until you do. At this point, it's like a figment of my imagination. Like I'm gonna start to dream the day when we're speaking Chinese to each other. I'm like literally having sleeps about engaging in Japanese and Chinese discussions with everyone. The amount of progress I would make if I was cramming Chinese for 3 weeks in the same place, though. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. It's been some time since I crammed, but if I know someone who's cramming, maybe I would cram too. I'm so chill right now. Yeah. It goes without saying. Like the amount of studying, quote unquote, 30 characters every 3 days. It's pretty mild. Cramming sounds like a really young thing to do, but I wouldn't mind doing it every once in a while. I think my cramming goals would be like 250 to 300 characters a week. And then like sentence construction drills for like 20 to 30% of the time. Oh man, no, I don't even want to think about that. That's not yapping. Boy. What would be my timetable? 10 weeks? Yeah, that's like a little over 2 months. 2.5 months. Yeah, the 3 months, the 3-month cram. That sounds about right. Then just dump it all the next day. The next month. Good old academia. I don't recommend that to anyone, please. Please do not. I'm only reflecting on my younger self. This is not the message I want to give little youngins who want to do things for a living. Don't do it, Sub-Zero. There's only occasional times in your life for cramming. But if you're consistently cramming, boy, that midlife burnout is screaming your name. You're punching your ticket to a midlife burnout. You find yourself forgetting what I find after cramming so quickly though? That's exactly, yeah. That's the brain dump that I was talking about. Then you just dump it all and you're gonna have like, then the weaker, the loose like baggage is just gonna leak. You're just gonna leak a lot. And in the long run, if you're gonna do a career in it, it's going to be very, like, it becomes so inconsistent that at some point, it's a point of frustration rather than, so sacrificing the early progress tends to go a long way. Like, not speeding through something tends to go a long way. If you're there to be like fun, like for example, learning a video game and then beating the video game and then moving on for the endorphins and stuff, that's understandable. Or doing like a project where that object itself is produced and then you move on to a new project, that's perfectly reasonable. Foundational work though, cramming is only when it has to be pragmatically necessary, like to get something. That's probably one of the few exceptions that I would make. If you're cramming to lead to more foundational work, that's sufficient, because you're hoping that the foundational work that you are cramming for will reinforce the thing you're cramming for. Otherwise, if you're cramming for something that is like individually based and just sectioned off very probably, it's almost as though you're asking yourself to use this to gain something in which you will like, quote unquote, feel like you've lost it later on, and that's a really bad feeling, and that stuff can pile up day after day. For every course that I've crammed, I don't remember that much, to be honest. Yeah, for courses that I've worked more structure with, you still remember. Yep, cramming can always make you lose the passion for it too. Yep, I'm kind of experiencing now. Whoa, Sub-Zero, you need to calm down. You gotta keep that passion up. Get that slow drip of endorphins and dopamine. I don't know what people call it these days. スケートボード。すごい。I was genuinely considering just dropping the course and switching specialization the other day. Real talk. Alright, I know I'm like giving you mixed messages. However, if you have considered that, sometimes that can be like the thing, right? Because you still have time. You still have time. Those gut moments can be very revealing. Boy. すごい. Here's an idiom. I'm not sure if Norway has an idiom like this, but it's something to the effect of sometimes you gotta know when to quit. Not give up per se, but you gotta know when you're you gotta count your losses only to come back stronger, right? Oftentimes, yes, a lot of people say don't give up, keep at it, right? Keep at it. However, there are times when you can cut your losses and only reap the learning lesson to come back stronger, right? Or find alternative. So there's always those like counter idioms. I don't know what the exact wording is and I'm not sure if it's American. It's an American or no, why not? I gradually don't have to do this to get through the degree. You genuinely don't have to? Oh, okay. But it will hopefully open up the right door. There's like 5 people in your class? Wow. You needed to hear that, Kappa. Yeah. I think the smallest class I have been was... Oh yeah, like 5 people. It was a seminar class. Like, it was a seminar-oriented class. So the only thing about the class is everyone just rotates giving their seminar. So like, first the instructor will provide a lot of inspiration and stuff for like the first 2 weeks, and then everyone else is gonna take turns presenting their stuff. That's it. They pick a topic, do as much research as possible, and they teach a class. Or like they spend a whole class period explaining something that's relevant to the topic, like relevant to the course. That's it. And then the class ends. So there were 5 people, staggered 5 times. That's it. I forgot what my presentation was on. There are too many topics, so I have no idea. I can't keep them straight anymore. It might have been on telomerase. I'm not sure if you're familiar with telomerase, but it's that protein that maintains telomeres at the end of your chromosomes. Kind of that thing that a lot of people think of as a marker for aging. Was it a PhD subject? No, it wasn't. It was a random class. Just a random class. It's a very unpopular course. Most people in electrical engineering grad school lean more towards software programming course. Yeah, but that's more like a trending thing, you know what I mean? This course is very raw hardware directed. Yeah, like software and programming, I feel like you're right. It's popular because it's trendy. That actually. It's most of the classes that you have to take in graduate school is to like round out your education. So you spent the first like 2 years doing coursework, but the coursework is to round out your foundations. The PhD subject is performed in the lab. So you're doing lab work and research and stuff that is independent of all of the courses. Like one of the courses I took that was involved in my research is I just randomly walked over to the engineering department. Pretty sure it's the engineering department. Either the engineering department or the computer sciences. I'm not sure they're the same department. And I basically just sat in the first year Python class. It was either first year or second year Python class. That's it. Like, oh, hey, you know, I need to take these courses. I need to learn something about Python because I can't. It, and you know, my mentor would say like, oh, okay, all right, I'll go about it. And then I just walk into that class one day, and come back like, and then just leave 3 to 4 months later. That's kind of how the graduate school thing works. Like, ah, yeah, my I need to learn MATLAB now. So you just bring up the university's coursework. I'm like, all right, this says I need like 4 prerequisites, but I think I can still take it. So we'll just take it. And it's not necessarily like you take it for credit. A lot of times you audit the class, right? Because you attend the university, and it becomes so different now. Like, I haven't officially stepped in a class and be worried about grades or exams or something, because generally you will perform sufficiently. It's such a weird thought. That's why whenever someone asks me, oh, did you take the JLPT exam or something, like, it's been so long since I've taken exams. It's one of those things, like, I don't want to sound, I want to be as humble as I can be, but generally speaking, when I tackle learning a concept or learning a skill, especially something that deals with like an abstraction or intellectual understanding, I don't settle on the idea that I'm going to fail the course or have trouble with the course. My only thought is, how much can I learn that will benefit me? Because no matter what, I will learn the thing. Now the question is, how valuable is it to me? That's it. So whenever someone says like learning Japanese and learning Chinese, and they're like, oh, aren't you worried that you're not getting these vocabulary and stuff, like, I will, regardless of what I tackle, I will learn to sufficiency. Like, I will pass whatever I need to pass. Now the question is, I'm more focused on how much value does it provide for me. It's rarely ever like, can I do it or can I not do it? And I'm not saying that there are things that I can't do. That's perfectly all right. The idea is, I don't think about that. I don't say, I'm taking this, it might be too hard for me. No, I'm taking this and we'll find out if it's too hard for me, or if it doesn't suit my values. If it's too hard, it can't value me, it can't provide value for me, right? I won't get anything, so I'll pull out. That's it. That's it. Like, you take your losses, you take your L's, and then you learn from them, right? So when someone says something like, oh yeah, I don't want to go down this path because there's a chance it's impossible for me, I'm like, I totally get that. Especially when you fear that when you don't achieve something, right, you don't get to the end, that it basically was for naught, right? It was in vain. And that, in my opinion, hopefully, in my mind, subsides as you become more and more experienced and more like creative and more critically thinking. Because oftentimes when you do something without that fear that you can't make use of it, that, in my opinion, is the biggest source of insecurity for learning and planning. It's so difficult to overcome that. The idea that, oh my gosh, if I go down this, I'm going to spend 3 months or 6 months learning something, and it might just all disappear. Like, I won't ever get those 3 or 6 months back. And that's kind of, it can be really, really tough. And I think overall, you kind of know. This is a generalization. You kind of know that intellectually you have made it if that feeling kind of just goes away, like over time. Like, nah. Like, hey, what was that? You want to learn about JavaScript? Like, well, I don't know anything about JavaScript. Let's just do it together. And then, you know, the person was like, but you don't have any interest in JavaScript. Oh, don't worry about it. Like, if I learn JavaScript, I'll know how to use it. You know, don't worry about it. It's another skill I could use. It's like, but you don't have any programming background. It's like, no, don't worry about it. Like, if the stuff I can do, it probably can use some programming. I'll come up with some way to use the skill. That's kind of the general mindset that I have. Like, where some people would say things like, well, it's obvious there's no connection between. It's like, don't worry about it. I got this. And inevitably, I'm investing in you too. So let's just do it, right? That kind of thing. Having exam forces you to be disciplined, but I get bad learning tendencies when I'm having a letter grade as a goal in mind. Yeah. It is a double edge, right? Deadlines, exams enforce discipline. However, discipline means that you're focused. So if you're focused and if you have a tendency to hyper-focus on specific things, it may detract over time from like well-being and a bigger picture because you're focused. Isn't that the whole point, right? To get a bigger picture, you step back and be less focused. And then when you need to be disciplined, you narrow your focus. So it's going to be back and forth. And it has been a while since I concerned myself about, will I do a satisfactory job, right? And that's not to say that I won't be like out of practice. There is a chance when I get back into something that's evaluated, I will take time to adapt. The main thought here is the security that I feel is not from knowing a lot of things. It's from knowing that I can probably solve whatever I need, right? I can do a sufficient job. Not ideal job, but I can do a sufficient. I can sufficiently fill in requirements. I think lots of times when people think things are impossible or not feasible and stuff, they're thinking about, in my opinion, the ideal case. Like, is it worth learning Japanese? It's like, well, it's not worth learning a language if you can't become fluent. That's exactly the mindset that I'm saying I don't have. Like, I stray away from that mindset. Like, is it like, should I become a chef? It's like, should I become a chef? Well, it's not worth it if you don't become a Michelin chef, right? That it happens a lot, and especially in this day and age, where the only example you ever have is the ideal example. So whenever you start something, you're getting advice from someone who either is an exceptional person or presents themselves as an exceptional person, right? When was the last time you pulled up a YouTube video and say, here are the 15 secrets that no one told you that somehow I know and no one else knows? Welcome. And here's your $300 subscription fee. That kind of thing. It kind of ends up being very, very natural to assume that and presume that when it's normal. And honestly, whenever I see those things, no discredit to those people, but it is part of their business model and how they do algorithms. But if I had to be realistic, I prefer to hear them earnestly talk about how the product that they're presenting isn't that. It is pretty much realistically very similar to other products, and that they work really hard on it. I'd rather prefer to hear them say, I worked hard on this, I can't make wildly guarantees, and here are all the stipulations. That, to me, is incredibly wonderful. But you don't hear those. Or like, you rarely hear those. Like, is Shashingo gonna benefit me wildly on learning like you know, Japanese and stuff conservatively, and well, I can tell you I'll learn all the kanji in Shashingo. That's how am I going to use that knowledge? Hard to determine right now. Hard to determine. Sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know what's going to happen. And try your best. I'm giving you so many mixed messages. I'm sorry, Sub-Zero. It's like, I can, if you were a bit younger with like trying to decide, all I can think about is, are you telling me to like change courses now? Or are you telling me to pursue things even though I'm having a hard time? Like, what are you trying to say? I'm like, I'm not saying anything. Giving ideas, and I hope you make up your own thoughts about it. Because, you know, Sub-Zero, I don't actually think you're a kid, or like someone who cannot synthesize yet how to make life decisions, right? Listen, Zero, you're a fossil now, okay? Older person. All right, what else we got? All right, a bit of a yap, even though I really should stay on task today. Okay, that's a really ugly looking one. Yeah, it's good enough. Noru. Alright, where are we going with this? Asa. 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 Oops. That is the incorrect radical. Not a kid. We're talking unk to unk right now. Yeah. Unk to unk. I'm more like a greater unk, you know, to a like like a spring unk, you know. I'm more of a fall unk. You're more like a spring unk, you know. Capital letter unk. You make me want to go back to working at a university. Like, I would love to be like it's hard to do it in the United States because if you want to become an academic advisor, you're also more likely to also have to juggle schoolwork. And then there's a lot of so many other things. So I like the idea of monitoring and advising people's career paths. That's probably one of my favorite things about teaching. Just the opportunity to shape, be able to like pick up someone while they're down. I know like this might sound a little biased, but I like picking up kids. As in, oh well, that could be taken out of context. Like picking up when they fall, like when they're struggling. I like doing that every day. All the superstars, those kids, it's fun to watch them like nail things and do things I couldn't have possibly done when I was younger. But I think the greatest reward is helping younger people solve their problems. And the reason why I have such a flowery thought about university is because it's kind of optional. It's kind of optional. So unlike like going to a med school and stuff, I'm not pausing. I mean, there is a lot of philosophizing here, and stuff, but I'm not like responsible for this kid's like life and death situation, like their health. But intellectually, there's this idea that it's a fondness to help someone achieve something that can ultimately be kind of optional. So if there's anything that's interesting about that, is getting, if you can get someone to pursue something that might be intellectually optional. I like to be naively to think that anything that they have to do will become just that much trivial. As in, it's a reverse. A lot of people would say if you have to do something and get it done, that will help you do whatever that's optional, because the what you know what if you have to work and you know how to get to work, then doing hobbies and stuff will become like less difficult. I would say the opposite nowadays. Motivating someone to do something that's optional requires a lot of tact and understanding versus being forced upon you. Things that are forced upon you imply that you must adapt and be disciplined about it. It used to be I think it would used to be the opposite. To me, like, things are easier when they're forced upon you versus getting you to like do something optional from my perspective, right? It was easy to go to school because I had to. It was easy to get A's because I had to, as opposed to it was hard to love myself. As in, like, I really disliked living in my own skin when I was younger. That was the harder part. Like learning to take vacations, learning to go out and have fun. That was the hard part because I didn't have to do that. It was optional. And that was during a time when most of my peers would do the optional thing because they're far easier, right? There's no obligations and responsibility. Nowadays, though, I think it's the reverse. It's like trending in the reverse. It feels like the hardest things that most people do that they have problems being consistent in are generally the things they voluntarily do, as opposed to all the obligations that are forced on them. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. It just feels like it's trending away. New generation, new different perspective shifts, and things you have to address. So in the academic environment, I would love to put that thought and my practices into effect. Like, how would I get someone in an academic position, right? Aren't there academic positions for being in charge of the labs? I could see that being fun. You have to do a lot more than being in charge of a lab, unfortunately. But you're in charge of a lab, you're also in charge of writing grants, you know, getting money, human resources. And if you're in academia, right, academia position, you also have to teach classes and grants, more grant writing. they, they, they can't be separated. So there's a lot of things that I'm not very, let's just say I'm not too cut out for at the moment. Yeah, you have to do a lot more. Yeah. On average, you have to teach at least one class. One class. And you need to fund your lab. It's the funding your lab part that is can be a mixed bag. And you have to also work on human resources, right? You have to have people in your lab as well as trained and be part of training programs. Quite a lot. With that said, it was a really fun dream to think of. The funding part is probably the scariest part. If you don't get academic position security just because you try very hard. You also have to produce results to keep the lab going and to keep your position. So that's kind of like the other side of things, right? Who's providing the money, right? Just because you're doing a thing doesn't mean you get resources for trying. Gotta produce results. I don't want to sound like a post-apocalyptic dystopian like kind of fantasy writer. However, the science, you know, if you ever watch specific science fiction, where the scientist was so desperate to have results in order to secure their funding, and that ultimately led to a catastrophic sci-fi fiction apocalypse thing. There's a really big ounce of truth to that. It's a nightmare scenario. However, it's grounded in truth, much like everything else, especially when it comes to an enterprise and entrepreneurship and whatnot. You got to get the money from somewhere, or the resources from somewhere. I still wouldn't mind doing it if the opportunity presents itself. You know? Oshare. Oshare. Otsu. Where am I going with this? Oh. I got it. Geru. I'm perfectly content. I'm perfectly content with just making people feel happy. For the time being. And I'm like pseudo learning things as though it was all class again. Now it's just like real life executive function things. Focus on executive function. Miru. Some of the lab engineers you have had were strictly that. They didn't publish any research or anything, and in fact, a lot had bachelor's degrees and not PhDs. They spent most time correcting lab papers or making some tweaks to the lab exercise. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's one of those things, if one isn't like... If one isn't maybe a little bit lucky or had some sort of like contribution, you can easily fall into the idea of having an unbalanced like reward between being able to do research and do discovery versus being relegated to desperately fulfilling funding status or keeping your position. So that ends up being like, you're gonna grade papers. I mean, to me, I actually think that's perfectly fine with me. I love making lab exercises and correcting, like, however, that doesn't mean I wouldn't want a secure situation where I can spend time pursuing discoveries, knowledge, things. So oftentimes when people think of like scientists and their pursuit of knowledge and whatnot, it comes at it has a big asterisk on it. You need a source of funding. to do that. So meanwhile, while you're doing that, you'd be surprised how little of the things that are depicted for like a scientist actually involves that. So like, for example, how often do I see my mentor being able to do lab work or doing the things? I mean, granted, my mentor really enjoyed reading papers, coming up with ideas. For me, I'm a person who likes to collect data and be part of like the first-hand thing. However, when you run a lab, you're running a lab. You're not like in the lab most of the time. You're actually out of the lab. You're doing paperwork, conception, and whatnot. And I kind of like that part, but then you also have to get to the part where you're publishing and then getting funding, constantly looking for sources of funding, networking for more funding. That part, not so much. I would point out though that some of them were really bad, to be quite honest. That's fair enough. You know, you have ranges, right? Ranges of competence and conflicts of interest. It was clear that they have been working there, running the same routine labs for the last 20 years. A lot of times when you ask a question, they wouldn't know without looking at it in their hand. Yeah, complacency, getting used to the grind, right? It would interest me to ask them if they are satisfied with doing so. Oftentimes when someone is running the same routine labs for the last 20 years and then becoming more and more complacent, that's usually my first response or behavioral response I would expect is they're probably saying, oh, it's just a ends to a means, or means to an end. I just said that backwards. So means to an end, as in, oh, I just do this for the paycheck, or like, I don't see myself desiring to do anything, right? And 20 years, that'll do it. That'll definitely set you, like, crystallize your daily routine. I am most certainly not a person like that, and unfortunately, it's a very tricky slope in science. One has to be incredibly consistent to have the luxury of being incentivized to constantly like seek new things and improve new things. At some point, it can be such a feeling of luck and whatnot. You settle into a routine that you'll probably do for a while. I think science is a great example of a career that tend not to end up like that. You know what I mean? Like it's less likely than other positions. However, it can still happen for science and like engineering and higher academic things. Yeah, constantly striving to be intellectually stimulated comes with a big caveat that you are constantly expected to have resources to be able to keep doing that, which that's why content creation may be incredibly attractive to a lot of high functioning. Like it goes without saying, I'm being genuinely earnest that the vast majority of people who like want to do content creation and or engage high frequently in like passion projects like language learning and stuff, they're probably incredibly high functioning. The downside here is that in order to consistently be able to do that, you need to acquire tons, like substantially fundamental skills in other spheres that high functioning individuals would probably not be interested in. And one of them is interpersonal skills and communication, or critical like problem solving. Which generally high functioning people would tend to focus on something, love it a lot, and not problem solve outside of it. Because if you're very well skilled and trained in one thing, rarely do you have to solve problems anymore or to relearn things. And that's kind of where I learned a lot later that, yeah, I have to solve a lot of problems. And did I have enough skills for those things? It's like, I didn't like it enough to do so. Like how to get funds and how to network for funds, right? How to ingratiate yourself and collect talent and scout things, and there's quite a lot of dimensions to it. I'm not mad at them for it though. I can imagine having the pressure of being a figure for 200 plus students that they go to when they need help. Yeah, I mean everyone can have periods of slack, but in case like that, it not only affects you, but it also, yes, and it's tough. You get grinded down. I met a med student yesterday, 3rd year, from Spain, who's like dabbling in language learning as well while they're in med school. Um, that's kind of the thought whenever I think about med students. Like it does have an impact outside, but man, those careers, they grind you down very, very quickly. And it's kind of one of those like obvious human conditions that put a limited lifespan on people in those positions. And the ones that you see that are incredibly successful and persistent, I would say are more likely the exception than the rule. As in, the average high academic achieving person will have some mental struggles, right? They will have sustainability and mental quality of life struggles, because largely, and I'm not even necessarily speaking just about the United States, it's actually pretty universal. This is a standard human condition. The demands due to the ratio of people, right? There's a reason why you still have 200 students to like 1 professor, right? The demands are high, and it's not really that attractive on paper. And you have to, in a way, you also have to be extraordinary in that case. And you going to engineering, like what you're doing now, you're in the statistical minority, right? I was in a statistical minority. In terms of like this whole thing that I'm doing now, I'm probably pretty average. And honestly, I haven't been any happier or unhappier since I've been doing things where it places me in the statistical average. Did you ever feel like you hit a point in your learning where you felt comfortable with what you know? I feel like I never know enough, and I wonder if I'll ever hit a point where my learning stagnates because I know enough to get around. That's a good point. Okay, the question is, the short answer is yes. I have hit a point in which my learning, where I felt comfortable with what I know. And the answer, and you might be thinking, so am I still in that position? Like, what's the follow-up? It's like, I don't like it. I chose not to do that. The moment I feel comfortable with what I know is the moment I know that I'm not learning anymore. So the irony here is, yes, I had hit a point where my learning, I felt comfortable and I didn't like it. It made my life very, very dull, and became that 20-year-old, like the people you're describing, you know, the people who are doing like lab routines for like 20 years and haven't changed anything, and have done it so long they've forgotten the being active and part of the thing. I didn't want to become that. So I have hit a point every once in a while, maybe for like 1 or 2 skills, and my thought was, yeah, I don't want to keep like waiting for this to like change, or keep waiting for me to feel comfortable. I don't like this feeling. So ever since that realization, which did happen quite later in my life, maybe like 27, 28, I told myself like that's not where I want to be. So here I am, 10 years later, and I'm still like seen as incompetent, seen as someone who's always constantly like out of their elements. And I speak from experience that even this type of situation can be leveraged to be a specialized skill. And what do I specialize in usually, or what I conservatively say I specialize in? I specialize in habit formation, which is necessary for learning, and executive function, right? Being in this state of mind all the time helps you be creative at problem solving people's inability to change, right? To start new things, to create new foundations. Because the thing you're seeking is what most people are seeking. And I kind of leave that. So when I become too comfortable with something, I stir the pot again. Too comfortable, I stir the pot again. I can't wait to hit it. I feel like I'm always unsatisfied, like being near the end of a race, but never really reaching the goal. So I'm a little biased here. I'm gonna tell like, and here's my bias. I think, first of all, I think there are people who believe that, as in like they have hit a point, they're so comfortable, and now they go around talking about it, you know, like, oh, here, this is what you do, this is what I would do, this is what you can see how they carry themselves, right? For me, I'm biased because I'm gonna say the people who are around me will never feel that, or try never to feel that. Even though it's like, you might be thinking, oh yeah, but it would be great for mental health if you feel that, you know, the security about not feeling like an imposter, right? Like an imposter syndrome kind of deal. At the same time, the people around me are driven by that constant dissatisfaction of when you know something, you know even less. When you know something, you know even less. That was what caused them, drive them to this point. And you might be thinking, well then how won't they just be very, very depressed and stuff? There are people outside of you that can give you confirmation. So when you surround yourself with other individuals that recognize that, right, you use your and leverage your unsatiable dissatisfaction with your lack of competence or omniscience or sufficient omniscience, what is the word I'm looking for? Like clairvoyance, right? You have other ways to get the feedback. And I know I'm painting a one-sided picture here because I don't live in a time or in a mind space that imagine myself to be ever satisfied with what I know. I am very satisfied with the idea that I can always learn from something. So that's sufficient for me. So that dissatisfaction, you could say, kind of goes away in a way, but not in a way that you would imagine. However, I would love to know when that happens and what you choose to do with it. Yeah, there are days I just walk into a class at some point and I'm like, all right, so I'm just responsible for all the information and I know all this information, so let's just get it done, right? You walk into a class, like, I'm pretty sure I can answer 99% of the, or I believe. I'm like, yeah, I'm good enough. I walk in, 99% of the questions I've already prepared for because we've done this enough times. It's not my first rodeo, that kind of thing. It does happen. Here's a not like college related, not a serious related thing, like a video game, for example. I don't express this very often, and I still don't. Whenever I pick up a deck builder, right, I try to be as attentive and active as I can. However, that doesn't dispel the idea that I probably know 90% of the current trends of like the disciplines and the mechanics and whatnot, and the design elements that go into a deck builder's foundation. Yet I push back on it. So I constantly push back on it. The moment I tell myself like, oh, you know, I'm probably no, I could probably predict the next like 90 to 95% of things I'm going to experience. But if I think that way, it's gonna rob me of being attentive and enjoying stuff. So how I push back on that comfort, like that arrogance and that complacency, you know, you get into a mindset like, oh, I can predict this. Oh, that makes sense. Like this is everything. I already know all this stuff. Instead, to push back on it so that I can always want to strive to be better or strive to learn something, is I keep telling myself like, I want to know the person who made this game. I want to know the motivations and stuff that prompted this person to choose this line of thought. And the reason for that is because you can't anticipate everything about the person. So whether the product is exactly identical, like, you know, like if two people release very identical products, that in itself will become dull and dissatisfying. I know it, being on the grass is greener on this other side. Like, oh, you're always unsatisfied because you don't know enough. Once you know enough and feel like you know enough, everything becomes, to me personally, everything becomes very dull. As in, oh boy, look at this. I'm gonna do this project again. It involves like 95% of the things that I've already known. Let's just get it done, right? And the question you're asking, or the question I ask myself is this interesting enough so that it doesn't feel like I'm doing the same thing every day in and day out? And I push back on that all the time. So like when someone gives you an opportunity, like for example, I don't get a lot of opportunities to play video game, especially at the cost of video games and whatnot. So when, like, for example, Daniel approaches me and say, hey, I've been making this game, and my first thought was, you could be someone who is very satisfied with your knowledge, and you're like, oh man, this game just looks like Slay the Spire. Like, nah, sorry, Daniel. You know what? I'll just spend 30 minutes confirming everything I suspected about my accolades of like 30 deck builders, and I won't play your game, but I'll kind of like sample it and say, oh, here you go. I'm gonna spend like 15 minutes writing this review. I don't want to be that person. That's basically what I mean. It's satisfactory enough for other people, whatever their goals, and it's not satisfactory enough. So if a developer doesn't want to spend like hours talking to me, then that's perfect. That is their prerogative. At the same time though, it is endlessly entertaining and interesting to try to figure out the person as opposed to the information in front of you. So whenever someone says like, oh yeah, you're learning Chinese, it's like, what? So do you think like, what do you think of the grammar, and what do you think? And I still participate in these conversations because it interests the other person. However, if someone's asking me about like the difficulties of pronunciation and grammar and stuff, like the actual content, that's disinteresting. If they ask me, how do you think someone is going to perceive my pronunciation? Like if I go in the context of talking to a native person, now that is an interesting question. The Chinese isn't going to go anywhere very quickly. In fact, I expect to like die of my mortal life before seeing a paradigm shift in the Chinese language, probably, right? If not, I could be surprised, obviously. But that type of thing is not intellectually stimulating. Hello there, Elude. Hello, Elude. Welcome, welcome. If you were If you were prompted the opportunity to instantly learn Chinese and Japanese by a genie, would you take it? Um, does it come with strings attached? It would take away the learning journey and you would know everything there is to know about it. I would still take it. It's an opportunity. You know what I would use? I would use the Chinese and Japanese to learn a new language. The journey doesn't end with the acquisition of knowledge. It continues and expands bigger. So if I instantly learn Chinese, now that's cheating. Yeah. So, you know, the answer is if I gain more knowledge, that means that I have more questions. That's the idea. I personally, of course, this is a philosophical endpoint, Sub-Zero. Um, you might end up feeling at one point that whole satisfaction of knowing enough that you can just do anything. That works for a lot of people, and for me, by the time I get there, it's no longer there anymore. So my thirst, you know, that thirst for knowledge, the cliche like thirst for knowledge, when I am offered the opportunity to instantly comprehend something, that only suggests to me that there are going to be more questions by the time I gain new knowledge. And and that is what I love about being human in general. Inquisition and curiosity does not end with the acquisition of knowledge. So if you give me all the glossary thinking, I would try very hard. If you say, okay, what if the genie grant me universal knowledge, then I would be a very, very sad person. Like if you're gonna just push it to the extreme, right? Like then there would be no journey to be had, right? It would be like, for lack of a better example, it would be like Notch accomplishing his life goals, and Notch as in the developer of Minecraft. It would be like accomplishing your goals and then finding out that you have a lack of motivation to live your life anymore because that ambition, that drive is gone. That's kind of like the, like, yeah, instantly learning Chinese and Japanese, the silver lining is I would take it because I know the journey doesn't end there. I take any opportunities where it leads to bigger and bigger roads of knowledge. So if someone comes in and criticize me and say and convince me to stop Duolingo, I'll stop Duolingo if that person convinced me that there are more opportunities. That's largely it. That doesn't mean that people are, you know, you can be successful instantly. The charisma here is the charisma necessary to convince me to do something is what I'm selecting for. As in, like, I'm not convinced easily by someone's semantic knowledge. I'm convinced by someone's investment through compassion. So if someone says like, oh, you'll really love this because X, Y, and Z, because I like it, X, Y, and Z, and whatnot, it's like, hey, I want to be closer to you. You got me sold. It's not the, oh, I'm talking at you, like, oh, this is interesting because most people find it interesting and you have to find this interesting. It's like, well, I didn't learn anything about you. Like, why do you find this interesting? Because I'm not interested in the topic itself. It's the people behind the topic. Okay, another question, Kappa? Wait, what do you mean by okay, another question, Kappa? Are you ask me another question, or are you not going to ask me another question, Sub-Zero? Oh, you got another one coming? Okay. Don't put Kappa at the end of genuine... Listen, Sub-Zero, you're doing like a... You're gonna end up doing like the boy who cries wolf situation, where you put the Kappa so often, I'm not even sure if you're you're for real or not. Alright, hang on, let me finish this last one. I think there's one more, right? Yeah. Kuruma. Kuruma. Whoa. That's disgusting. Okay, we do have to do our new photographs today, so I do have to complete. Today's a chill day. Today's day 3 for everything, or except for Shashingo, but it's day 3 for Duolingo. I do have to head off early today, because I get to catch up with an old friend. Your hypothetical I'm gonna light a fire under your butt. Your hypotheticals have a lot of loopholes. So zero. It reminds me of when I was like in high school when we were talking about like critical thinking things. So whenever someone like asked me a hypothetical, I'm like, well, you could just change the game because you gotta think outside the box. If you could stack your equally distributed time, okay, your equally distributed time learning Spanish, Chinese, and Japanese into one, would I? If you could stack your equally, say you got 200 hours in each, and you could stack all so that 600 hours worth of learning into one instead. Okay, go on. Go on. I'm seeing there's probably more. Okay. I already have an answer to it, and I already know what I have an anticipation on where you're going with this. Intensity. You've evolved. You evolved your Renshu pet. Wait, you get pets in Renshu? What the heck, dude? Where's my pet in Duolingo? All I get is an obnoxious green owl that tells me to do my lessons. What the heck? I want to get a pet that evolves. Hold up. Sorry, I'm having trouble remembering what I was trying to write. Alexander? Okay. Hang on. Let me write the rest of this so we can work on our new set. Okay. This is all the vocabulary for yesterday's set that I promptly forgot like 3 characters. I have no reservations that I got them correctly. So let me see this question before we go into our set. What do you mean go on? That's the question. That's the question? It's not really a question. Like if you stack all into Chinese, would you be you would be at a way higher level in that at the expense of being a beginner in Japanese and Spanish again. I would definitely do it. All those hours of French into Chinese instead. Your pet is Duo. Yeah, the evil owl. Okay, all right, Sub-Zero. Here's I need a graph for this. So, you remember how like we talked about skill development, right? The delta. Let's just call this. Let's just call the y-axis delta skill, right? Delta skill, and then I'm saying delta skill, but I'm more talking about like proficiency. No. Actually, we're not using delta. It's just we'll just say skill, right? Or proficiency skill, and then we have time, right? Time. Okay, and then we're gonna make this like cumulative. It's cumulative. So let's just say, for example, this is the curve for Japanese. Okay. What do you think the curve for Chinese will look like? I'm gonna put in some noise. Okay. And then what do you think the curve is going to look like for Spanish? With some noise in between. Like obviously my starting point is going to be different. But what I'm suggesting here is, if I had to choose, I'm more likely to stay distributed equally. Spanish much easier. That's subjective, obviously. But if you take like, if I was a Japanese speaker, right? In my hypothetical life, I was a native Japanese speaker. Spanish wouldn't be easy. So we're eliminating the whole like given the things. But regardless, this is the natural. Man, these are literally identical curves to what I'm studying right now. I can't escape. So here's my perception, okay? Let's just say, what are the odds that 200 hours, you chose 200 hours. What are the odds that 200 hours occupy a bigger area, or not a bigger area, a bigger delta than an additional 400 hours, right? So like a bigger delta across the 200-hour period versus the delta with an additional 400 hours. My likelihood is I will probably still choose the 200 hours across the 3. Largely because if I get to choose, I would having 600 hours into Chinese would close more doors than open, in my opinion. When I have 3 skills in the long run. Now, here's the thing. If all of your goals and your life and your things are weighted into one, then you would go for this. And it's funny because you would probably already know my answer, Sub-Zero, that I would choose the distributed one because largely I favor opportunities over collective, like one egg, all in one eggs and all in one basket, right? And it's largely due to this type of nature where you get diminished return past a certain threshold. Now the question is 600 hours diminished return? Now you didn't say what happens after the 600 hours. So like if you were given 600 hours for Chinese, would you continue to learn Chinese after 600 hours and still get return? So if I already have 200 in these 3 and I continue to pursue them this way, would I get get closer to the value that you're getting as you continue to put in 3 times as much time into one language? The odds are that you will get diminished return far more than me as I move forward with 3 languages versus 1, right? Because we're not saying that after 600 hours you just stop cold turkey, or 200 and you just stop cold turkey, right? But in return you get 400 hours of progress during the depressing slow progress. And hear me out here. If that's slow progress, right? If that slow progress mean more dopamine for you, it's worth everything, right? So the question is, do you ask yourself that the slow progress is worth the cumulative progress, right? We're because you're valuing progress is the idea, right? Because you brought up progression. So for me, I don't value progress as much as you do. This could be a thesis. Well, it's already a thesis. I mean, I didn't come up with these ideas. Like all the stuff I'm talking about is like taken from like lots of people. This is just repackaged, it's just repackaged. Um, that's true. Okay, and you get a fresh start with fast progress of Spanish and Japanese again. I got a counter argument to that, and you're probably going to know. Are you saying uh-oh yet? I got a counter argument for that. Now, this is dealing with the difference between specialized knowledge versus generalized knowledge. We just talked about this earlier. So if you become specialized and you spent 600 hours in Chinese, do you think you will be faster at adjusting to a new language, like new tools, new learning, versus a person who's learning 3 languages? And they have to continue, if they, like, say, if they had to start a 4th language. Right, so now you're comparing like, oh yeah, but you're gonna have fast progress on a fresh start with Spanish or Japanese again. Well, now you have to think about this thing. And I'm gonna tell you the realistic answer is not what you might be expecting. The realistic one is probably there's a negligible. It's probably negligible. And or lower on this end. The likelihood that this person who has started 3 times and distributed in 3 different ways to acquire any other 4th language is more interdisciplinary. Or I guess that's not the word, but there are more disciplines. So the aspect of the 4th language would be encompassed more by this person's overall knowledge than this person's specialized knowledge. Now, there are special exceptions. You could choose a language that is incredibly similar, and that's fair enough. You can make that argument. But what are the chances, by random chance, that you would pick a 4th language, any 4th language, that is going to be super similar to that? The pool is much smaller for a specialized person versus a generalized person when it comes to fresh starts. Now, the ceiling, if you're talking about ceiling potential, someone who's specialized in this language may have a faster time getting to a ceiling. But in the beginning, it's probably negligible, if not lower, for the specialized person, because there will be an adjustment period, a longer adjustment. However, when you hit the ground running, when you start getting the pace, there's a chance that this specialized knowledge will elevate the ceiling, which already is true, right? Because someone who's invested a lot in Chinese alone already has a high ceiling. Meanwhile, this person is not specialized in high ceiling. So at some point, the diminished return will probably kick in earlier. But I think I would have more fun with starting fresh with the first 200 hours in 2 languages than I would be putting in 400 hours in intermediate language, though. That's exactly it. Yes, that is one of the attractions to pushing off and being in a state of learning versus pushing off in a state of being refining, right? So you're still sticking with keeping Japanese and Spanish? Can't tell what side you're on anymore, my side or the side. No, it's both. The idea is this stuff is great, and there's a lot of theories behind it, right? How you distribute time and manage diminished return and whatnot. In the end of the day, your hypothetical question told me more about you than I'm not sure if I told you more about me. So just the idea that you were able to express that you would do certain things and then take certain things, that's where this discussion is very engaging. In the long run, I'm going to probably say that starting things fresh and enjoying them is a conditioned response for older people, right? So 600 hours, you're very seasoned at a second language. The idea is if you stick to a language and you're not juggling anything, it's going to feel less enjoyable, right? By logic, less enjoyable because you don't do it very often. Versus, I'm not saying it's different than not enjoyable. You are definitely going to enjoy having a fresh start and all that stuff. You can make an argument that, oh, but if they keep starting over, it won't feel fresh anymore. Not quite there. It's more like if you keep starting over on the same thing, probably not so fresh. So you can extract things by saying who's more used to doing something and then how fresh it is. I'm going to argue for the generalist, it's probably not going to be as fresh per se. However, they're going to be faster. Likely to be faster, if not the same. Regardless of how long this person has worked on one language versus a person that works 3 languages. It's likely to be lower, right? So it's really, really hard for a human being to start fresh when they have specialized versus someone who has generalized and continue to see that as the state of mind. And for the record, while you're not switching between one language and you're constantly switching between 3 languages, it's already conditioning you to be like, what's a 4th language? What's a 5th language? What's wrong with speaking 2 languages at once? Versus I want to only sound Chinese. And it's give or take, right? Some people want to sound native Chinese. This is the way. You will be very dissatisfied if you think learning an additional language will help you with your Chinese. It's probably very, very uphill battle, right? To be convinced that it is the case. I like language learning. So, yes, please, more languages, right? That kind of thing. It's a really good hypothetical though. Oh, I love these questions. I had a similar experience to this switching majors. Starting fresh with a new topic was way more fun. Now that I've been at the new topic for a while, I think I would have more fun taking an elective in something completely different. Yeah, so you're pushing off of your role, like you're pushing off from the familiarity. I do the same with games and MMORPGs. I can't stick to the same character. I always make a new class because the beginning of the experience is something. So let me do a little deep cut here, Sub-Zero. You kind of strike me as someone that I can resonate with. So I don't want to sound like it's deterministic or not. When you talked about getting rid of the feeling of being unsatisfied, of not knowing enough, like just going in, it's like, oh yeah, I know enough, that comfortable feeling. What you just described is one of the reasons why I don't think you'll ever achieve that feeling. Or if you do momentarily, you'll push it off like I do. And what I mean by that is, while that part could be dissatisfying for the rest of your life, or you can choose not to be dissatisfied, like you can work around it, you're getting way more enjoyment from pushing that off, in my opinion, than trying to grab for it. Because what you just described about video games is something that will make that state of mind not feasible. Like, what I mean is, you're getting more pleasure from pushing off away from getting closer to that state, because it's antagonistic to each other. How do you get to a state of mind? How do you get to a state of mind where you feel satisfied that you know enough that there's not much to learn anymore? Well, you do exactly opposite of what's bringing you joy, that you just highlighted voluntarily. You stick to the same thing until that happens. And yet, the things you describe as enjoyable that you do naturally already is to not do that. Self-sabotage. I don't necessarily call it self-sabotage. I would say cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the classic, like the, in my opinion, the non-professional classical term for them. There are things that make you happy, and there are things you desire. But the things that make you happy are pushing off the thing you think you desire, right? And the idea is you're gonna have to negotiate, rather you sacrifice one for the other. Which one do you value more? Because a lot of times cognitive dissonance is because there are things that are fundamentally, they tend to be fundamentally in contrast to each other, right? Where you try to do one thing only to get further from another thing. And oftentimes that perspective and life kind of gives you that. Or friends, you know, friends, other people making comments like, did you notice that every time you say, I trust you, this happened recently, I trust you, but then you follow up with questions that show that you don't trust me. It happens a lot. I'll let you use your imagination. This happened recently in a Discord where someone asked Ryan, the dev of Shashingo, I'm gonna make it relevant to Shashingo, asked to Shashingo, they're like, oh, so what is the competence level of the developer? Like, what JLPT level is that person? And then Ryan responded with like a candid response, right? Like, oh, you know, I didn't have time to study in the last couple, like 6 months because I've been working on the game and whatnot. He shared that with me publicly, right? He's kind of sort of even fallen out of love with studying Japanese because of the stress and work on this game. And that person says like, oh, no, it's not like I don't trust him, but I kind of want to know what, and then that's kind of what I mean. That's cognitive dissonance. As in, sometimes you're saying one thing and then suddenly you're giving the impression or even literally behaving in a way that doesn't correlate with that. And that to me is why I think when people think of therapy, it's not only to treat things, but oftentimes just having, you don't have to have a therapist. You can have someone be interested in you to potentially see these things. Because I obviously clearly don't see everything about myself either, even with the greatest amount of awareness, self-awareness possible. You're going to have these things like someone saying, oh yeah, I don't really care about viewership or something, and then suddenly the next thing you say is everything that came out of my, like, I would say something like, oh, I don't care about viewership, and then I spend like 18 hours every day mentioning viewer numbers. That is cognitive dissonance, in my opinion, like a very regular occurrence, right? I was using myself hypothetically because I don't want to use anyone else as an example. On a different topic, you should become a therapist. I really think unfortunately, in order to get a license to do that, it would imply like doing like I don't know how to go about that. I did think about that at some point, but there are ways to be certified kind of in a different way, but it would involve getting like a double degree, where I don't know how that works out anymore. So I thought about it. Once you pick up and remember things about people, I mean, that's what you need for it. Being a teacher is the same though, or like very similar. Sub-Zero, right? Being a lot of things also. I don't know if you know what I mean, but picking up and remembering things about people is quite, to me, is like the mantra that most people should have in their life, right? You're a human being, so you're a social creature. It goes a long way to have these skills. And I'm not plugging, like, there are people who don't want to do this, and I totally get it. I mean, Daniel himself from, like, Elemental Exiles, right? He strictly said that, yeah, it's very difficult for him to be social and whatnot. And that's the way, you know, that's how it ends up. I really disliked being concerned with other people's things, that stuff, right? Until I was in a state of mind that I could do it. Not to say that you can change the inherent nature of introversion and all that stuff. And generally speaking, you can do that anywhere. I actually think I'm not, like, I shouldn't feel like I need to be something special. I think everyone else can be the same for their closest friends, right? Tell your friends, yo, what have you been up to? Like, I'm invested. Can I hear more about what you're doing, right? That kind of thing, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be a therapist. But for some people, getting paid to do it kind of gives that extra thing. Great questions, though. All right. Now we really need to get on the lesson. All right, let's see what we have. We're here now. Okay. This doesn't seem too bad. Right? We got a lot of fruit. We got 4 fruits. Okay. Alright, now we need to take pictures. What kind of filter are we gonna go with this time? We gotta go wild, right? Just black and white. Is this like extra vibrant or something? Yeah. Do you see a difference? I really don't see a... It's like maybe slightly more vibrant? I don't see a difference between these two filters. Okay. This is one of those colorblind challenges. I really don't see a difference between these two filters. They're labeled as 2 different filters, but I think this is the same thing. It's fine. Oh, but this pixel filter though. This pixelized filter though. Oh no. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is a vibe. We already used this one. This is the nocturnal filter. If you turn everything like pink, that's a kind of yeah. Oh my gosh, you can't see anything at night. Okay, we already used this one too, and this one. Yikes. Oh, this is the primary color filter. The scorched side, like burned filter. Oh yeah, we already used this filter, yeah. The scratchy thing. Oh, I like it. This is easily one of my best, one of my favorite filters I have access to. You know what? Let's just do primary colors. Alright. We'll try to take one in... Oops. We'll try to take one in a different color. Koji is one of the ones in there. What kind of I mean, That's a pretty appropriate frame, huh? Yeah, let's just go with it. Okay. And then we need this. Oops.
精肉店
Was the parking lot one of them? Yeah, it's the parking lot. Let's take a picture of this.
駐車場
駐車場. Alright. And then we gotta take a picture of a lot of stuff. Banana. Green banana. Wait. This is suspicious. Oh no. Oh, this is awkward.
バナナ
Alright, alright, alright. Real talk. We gotta take... Oh, wait. Oh no. This was a mistake. Oh no. Hang on.
バナナ
Oh no. Thought they were chilies for a sec? Oh dude. Dude, hold up. We gotta retake let's this is good. This is confusing. Ooh,
駐車場
red's fine. How many colors are here? Alright, so we have Supa.
Super
Okay. I hope I have 8 colors. Speaking of chili, the Szechuan dish I had earlier. Oh. Yeah, my parents have... Oh no. Have 2 colors next to each other. Oh, there are only 4 colors. Okay.
Super Super
Wait. What color am I missing? Yellow.
Super
What did you make with it? Boile is not gonna like it though. Oh, yeah, well. Did you just refer to your toilet in the third person? I mean, if you did, I approve. I approve. Oh no. We gotta make the fruit at least appropriate colored, right? I keep hitting the wrong button. It's left click. Wait. Why can't I...
Super
Wait. Why can't I take a picture? Do I have to zoom in more? Wait, what's going on? I can't take a picture of the watermelon. Hello? Oh, wait. What? Do they not want... Do they not want to be colored like this? Oh, you have to be really close.
スイカ
Man, you have to be really close. You boiled some rice noodle in it and put some in the pan where I cooked some beef. Ah. I kind of misjudged it for being a broth though, but it was more like straight oily. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, you know what that packaging reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of a hot pot wall solution. So like you were supposed to like dilute it substantially into a large pot of like stock or water, and then use it as a hot pot thing. At least the packaging kind of strikes me as a hot pot seasoning, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I said to dilute it in 500 grams of water, but I'm definitely using more water next time. Oh, okay. So it even specified how much water. I see. Let's see. We have ringo. We have red, and blue. Oh no, blue oranges? Oh, that's deceptive. Oh no. All right, well, this is gonna be an inside joke, that's for sure.
リン
That's
ゴ
so confusing. It's so confusing, but it's so fantastic at the same time. We're gonna have blue oranges as a
みかん
we're gonna have blue oranges. Oh, that's hilarious. I tried to keep the same color, but we don't have orange. It's so confusing. Oh no, that's so confusing. Why aren't orange a primary color, you know? It's not my fault. All right. This one's probably easily the more complicated. All right. We gotta learn. We have 1 hour to learn this. So let's just stare at the actual produce. Right. Blue oranges. Boy. Okay. All right. Not my best photography work, but you know, will do. Okay, so 駐車場 is kinda tough. So Koji is a freebie. Seinikten. Seinikten is kind of a freebie. Seinikten. The other ones are freebies. So let's... Okay, so we have horse, park, horse, position, car. I can't make out whatever this is. Alright, let's go look at our flashbang of a kanji site. Ugh. Okay. Okay. You... Go. Alright, so horse position, right? Are... Oh, I see. Alright. And then the other ones. So... Let's, Okay. I already probably forgot everything. Alright. So... Koji. What did I say? Horse? Horse? Position. Horse? Position. Car. And something really, really difficult. I'm just gonna guess this. 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 And this. I'm gonna guess it looks something like that. It kind of looks like it. My kuruma, my car, kanji looks terrible. Terribly thin. What was that? Say Nikten. I already forgot the left radical. I'm gonna guess... Oh, no wait, I do remember it. This deals with like cuisine and food a lot of times. So this... and then please. This and please. This please, Niku. Niku. And 10. 10. Clap. Say Niku 10. The proportions are terrible. This left radical is too big. What was our last thing? Super. And then we had fruits. I think they ended up using hirakana, katakana for everything. Katakana, let's see. So wait, it's just banana, not banana. Banana. Suika. Ringo. Ringo. No. Am I being a pet? No, I'm not being a pet. Ringo. And Mikan. You know, I didn't see this as a katakana. Mikan. I'll just write it as. No, that doesn't. No, they went with oh, okay. Just kidding. Dingo Dingo and Mikan are hirakana. Wait, was Suika in... We'll have to look. Ringo. Oh no. My hiragana is so rusty. Okay. Ringo. Oops. Okay. No. What? Why are you doing this? Why? Make up your mind. Banana, suika. Make up your mind. The sign is in hiragana. Look at that. That says ringo. And then the photograph is ringo in katakana. And it's not that big a deal. So which one do I obey? The sign? Or the photograph? It's fine. Alright, let's start with these 4. Okay. So. Oh no. Onsen. Onsen's pretty nondescript. Oh, kumitateru. Again. Kumitateru. So onsen is the only one. Onsen. Okay. It's pretty easy to remember. Chusha suru. Chusha
駐車する
suru. And aku. Okay. Aku. Oh, semai. Okay, semai. Semai. And it's kiru. Kiru, we do have shinsen already. Which actually overlaps with xingxiang. Xingxian is the same. Simplified just has one line on the bottom. So xingxian and shinsen are the same. And then hanasu. Interesting. Hanasu. And sakasu. Arupaito. Arupaito. To all the German speakers out there. Arubaito is a nice one. I keep getting reminded by the German origins. Arubaito. And kau. Okay. So, semai and anzen is probably the one we have to get locked in. So, semai. It's not quite right a die, is it? Onsen. Oh no. Okay. I thought I was gonna have a short Shashingo lesson today, but I blame Sub-Zero for everything. Koji. Koji. What are we got? Onsen. Son of a bee sting. Yeah, I knew onsen was gonna be a problem. Okay. Oh. Okay. Urusai. Kumi tateru. And then Kyushajo. Kyushajo. Nah. Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't check if that's the correct radical. That's fine. Don't worry about it later. So, Chusha. Kyusha suru. Kyusha suru. Aku. Man, my Aku looks terrifying. Dissatisfying. Aku. No idea what the third thing is. What's our next thing? Okay. Nikten. Yeah, Kiru. Oh, Shinsen. Shinsen. And Hanashi. Yeah, Hanasu. Oh. Sorry, I forgot about the left radical. What's our last thing? Supa. Super. Um. What? I wasn't paying attention to what? Uh. And then it's not obviously Kau. I think I'm having more trouble remembering the ascribed words. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's the incorrect radical. I should have checked that earlier. This is the... There you go. Okay. And then... Oh, Sagasu. Oh, right. Arubaito. Okay, arubaito. Oh, semai. Right. Right. Semi. I knew that. I was paying attention. I was paying attention. Of course I was. No one will ever know that I wasn't paying attention. Not like this is recorded or something. Flawless. Okay. Semi. Okay, Sagasu. Door. Sagasu. Arubaito. Okay. Alright, let's do that from the top. No slippage. No slippage. We got a few terms I know in the fruits that we gotta nail. So chop chop. Okay. Apology. I know, why are you so large? Why did I write you so large? Apology. Why? Oh, never mind. We're fine. Just complain to your emotions, and all will come. You just have to complain a lot, Sub-Zero. Then you'll like instantly know 3 weeks of cram, you know? The heck you. I'll remember all this stuff. That's exactly how it works. By exactly, I mean not at all. Because I'm already, I just gaslight myself into telling myself I know it. Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Kind of a thing. Oh. Okay, urusai. Umitateru. Awkward. Okay. That is aggressively overcompensating for its size. I guess I could keep dropping. I keep dropping characters. Maybe I should stick with. Write all of them out for now. Nikten. Does that remind me of what the heck is this character? No. Just get angry. Throw a fit. Okay. Yushato. Okay. Yushasu. No. MAKU. MAKU. Am I Hiru? Insen. Insen. The heck, man. The heck. Oh. Anas. Tagasu. Arubaito. Oh. Alright. Let's just add the other ones, right? We have banana. Suika. I'm gonna stick with Ringo this way. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Okay. I don't want to talk about it. Ringo. Okay. Mikan. Alright, what are the words for that? Wika was first. So we have, right? Kudamono, which is pretty okay. It's wa stuff, right? Kudamono. Oh no. Juksuru. Yeah, Juksuru. Okay. That's interesting. There's like a round in it. And then that's an interesting combination. And then some fire. Dekai. Interesting. Dekai. And oh hey, Yawarakai. Ekin Yawarakai. That's describing banana. So we have Kudamono in all 4 cases. And Juksuru in 3 of the cases. And Shaki. Shakis. And Amai, and yeah, there's Marui. Except for Mikan. Yeah, Mikan. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. At least I know I'm gonna get some practice on Juksuru. Dekai. Ugh, okay. Let's write it 4 times in a row, just for good measure. Old school. You think it looks better the more I do it, but you thought wrong. It got worse near the end. Okay. Something like this. Oops. And then round with some fire. Interesting. Juke. Juke suru. I don't think there's a coup. So juke suru. I don't like how not balanced that character is on the bottom. Just looks like it needs more. I might have missed a stroke. I don't know. Doesn't look that great. I'm pretty sure that's the character. In before, that's not the character. Okay, and then Anana has which makes sense. Yawarakai. I'm gonna stay. Sorry, had to sneeze. Suika was de kara. De kare? What is this game called? It is called Shashingo. Are you human? Do you just happen to share a name with human? Did you rename yourself? Ringo. Shaki. Shaki. Mikan. Damono. Damono and oh. Am I? Am we? Okay. Heckin' Kai. It's an E adjective. It might be an E. Looks like one. Smells like one. Not sure if it is one. Oh, there is a stroke through it. Okay. So there's a stroke through it. That looks a little bit more balanced. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. I guess we can put it together. With our blue oranges. Blue oranges. Who would have thought? There are blue oranges. Okay. Oh yeah, we're getting close to the 3 hours. So, gotta wrap it up. Gotta head off at 10 today. Before 10, preferably. Alright, let's start. Oh gee. Onsen. 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 Urusai. Mitateru. Oh, wait. Wait. Hold. And I forget this again. Oh, okay. Yushajou. Okay. Yushajou. That's a little off to the left. That's fine. Yushasu. MAKU. Semi. Ugh. Ugh. Seinikuten. Iru. 新鮮。話スーパー探す。アルバイト。青。スイカ。果物。熟する。That's good for him. No, I didn't see it. That's good for him. 熟する。果物を熟する。でかい。バナナ。はい。熟する。柔らかい。リンゴ。果物 again. It's gonna be very hard to forget 熟する。リンゴ。Yeah. シャキ。シャキシャキ。 Mikan. 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 Domino again. Kind of interesting that Amai is only ascribed to oranges of all of them. I don't know what was the thought behind that. Amai. Marui. Okay. I think we're okay. Will I remember this for tomorrow? There's a high chance I'll end up dropping Samai. So it's just Samai and Onzen. And maybe Joe in Jushajo. Alright, that's a wrap for today. I'm gonna move to our review days. I'll probably end up dropping the 2. Not a big deal. Okie dokie. Well, where should I leave this off of? Thanks for the hypotheticals, Sub-Zero. Always have a way with hypotheticals. So yeah, a thing about cognitive dissonance, right? Sometimes it's always great to write down on a piece of paper whether things you like to do may contrast between the things you want, right? Oftentimes I feel there's quite a lot of as like a hot take, there's quite a lot to be discussed when you can externalize your things onto a piece of paper or something. So a fun little mental exercise is often writing down, you know, the things that you think you may desire, and then seeing the things that you are currently doing, right? The things that you're currently choosing to do. And oftentimes there's a lot of like perhaps some clarity every once in a while when seeing them next to each other. Like I talk about this quite a lot to give as a personal end part. The whole idea of like content creation, right? So the things I seek to make content around is not necessarily currently on paper the things that would promote specific goals. So then I have to check if I don't have those goals or desires in mind. For example, the idea of having to have this level of discussion, like the stuff that we were talking about today, Sub-Zero, having this and imagining in the situation of your professor, right? The professor, which have like 200 people, just imagining that seems like I could rest on the dissatisfaction of not knowing how to address that yet, because naturally I'm more of a reactive person. So if that happens, perhaps I'll slowly prepare for it. However, I'm not saying when it happens, right? Sub-Zero. So things like I could be planning to find ways to scale this up in a sense that it would be more like attractive, so that the village will grow bigger, right? We would get a bigger village. However, I'm not ready to be, you know, the mayor of a town. And rather, it's nice to have these pleasant discussions every once in a while. And naturally, the idea is if pragmatically I want to do something and it lines up with my interests, are the things I'm doing and the things I desire to do in has a conflict of interest with that? And yes, it does. So naturally, it makes it very apparent that I either choose to feel comfortable and accept it and then like find other ways around. Like there's more than one way to support trying to make the things you want to make without having to stay within the system. Like for example, the thing that most younger kiddos these days seem to project all the time is the idea of creating hype, right? Or drawing attention to feats of extraordinary things, yet the things I want to create is demonstrating how doing smaller things, progressively doing smaller things and consistently doing those things have rewards in itself. And it's one of those things that I don't typically live on cloud 9 most of the time. I just live on cloud 5, cloud 6, say cloud 6 or 7 most of the time. Meanwhile, a lot of people live on cloud 9 and then drop down to cloud 1, if you get my drift. Their range is incredibly inconsistent. Where you go to cloud 9, then the next events and stuff can be negligible by a comparison. And that's kind of more of a perspective thing, right? If you spend a lot of time on highs, then you are most definitely gonna hit a lot of lows. That's one of your issues, Lotus. You swing a lot. Yeah. So there are times and places for that, I would say. And I take those swings when I am ready to know that I can either swing low or swing high. That sounds a little bit lewd, doesn't it? What'd you call it? So I take those swings every once in a while. But generally speaking, I don't aim high, but I aim for consistency most of the time. And this whole thing about like, oh yeah, but then you won't get to influence more people or you won't have a bigger impact. So that's perfectly fine. If it happens, I'll have to play reactive to that. But I don't typically work in a manner in which I plan for something big. I plan to seize the opportunity if it presents itself. So as opposed to like thinking like, oh yeah, this is gonna be by this date I'm gonna be like 1,000 in, and then by this date I'm gonna be 2,000. Oh, we should put all these like I get that though, because that's kind of like how corporate startups work. You try to get ahead of it. However, as a sobering thought, lots of times when someone, you poll like successful business organizations and people who have that type of aspect, being ready and preparing to seize opportunities to expand is methodical, is consistent, not swing for the hills and hope to see what sticks. That being said though, those who do manage to swing and hit it out, we got to celebrate them, right? You don't I'm not trying to diminish those things. Those who swing big and land big deserve it. They took all the risk, right? They took all the risk for every one of them. So you have to think about all the ones that swing and miss, right? And I'm okay. I'm not really like into that very much. I build. So this type of building situation makes for a very, very large conflict of interest between the content that most people are interested in. So as a point of self-awareness, meeting and contrasting with and combating cognitive dissonance. That's kind of a good example. That's one of my personal examples. Sub-Zero, just to reiterate the whole, like, while you want something, it's kind of desirable because it's pragmatic in a sense. Like, oh yeah, you know, if I practice something, you want to get to a point. I mean, it sounds good on paper. If you're practicing a skill, at some point you got to get to a point where you're like, yeah, I know this stuff really, really well, and it's good, it's comforting. And again, I echo what I said earlier. I got to a point at some point, and I realized that it didn't turn out to be the thing for me. And actually, sometimes I think people can see that from an experienced person's point of view, not a expert person. I'm talking about an experienced person's point of view, that you, like, some people might already see that maybe it's not even cut out for you in the first place, because you kind of see it. Not that you shouldn't try, because only you will eventually know the answer. The likelihood, though, like we were talking about today, the take-home message is that there are other ways to kind of get at the answer. And sometimes when I see people saying, like, oh, they get bored very easily, and then at the same time they want this feeling of always being competent and being in control. Real talk here. It doesn't seem like they connect. I mean, like, it doesn't seem like you could inform each other of this, though. If you get bored easily, rarely are you going to be someone who's going to be able to reach a state where you think you're competent enough to address everything within a narrow field. So I'm not saying you can't try. You can certainly try. Being aware of it and characterizing it allows you to negotiate a lot better, in my opinion. If you're willy-nilly swinging, wildly swinging and hope something sticks, certainly it can happen. This is where both the topics come together. So when you're looking at your behavior, right, and someone says, like, oh yeah, I study all the time, it's just getting boring, I'm moving on, and then the person is having trouble negotiating why they always feel like they're incompetent and wish that they could be competent. It's like that. Those things are kind of antagonistic to each other if you look at it on the cause and consequence. If you're constantly being bored and constantly tackling new things, you are less and less likely to ever reach a state where you grind so hard that everything still feels familiar, and aka it gets boring, right? So which is it? It's very difficult to navigate. Sometimes you want the cake and eat it. I totally understand that. Like, for example, I would love to be able to dilate time so I can speak to hundreds of people the way I speak to one person. In reality, those are in conflict with each other. So being self-aware and grounded in reality is very helpful. Not that it can sometimes be depressing. Like, people find that depressing. I find it sobering. It's incredibly sobering to know that, well, if I want to keep doing this the way I'm doing it now, it doesn't make room for ever growing past a certain size, because it would be impractical. However, with that said, if it ever does happen, then this will change. That's the sobering thought, right? We won't have these things anymore. They will change. And what that will look like will we'll come to the road when we cross it. And I do have to admit, things are gonna have to change slowly, soon, because I really thought I could keep this up in like a realistic way, but opportunities and different things have started occurring, and whatever it is, it's more like we try our best, right? And that's what I kind of want to take home. You know, you're given stuff, things happen in life. I think the security that comes with being experienced is not so much that you can't have the cake and eat it, you know, not concerned without having the cake and eat it. It's the idea that you have a comfort where when it happens, if it happens, or how it happens, your experience gives you a leg up, as in you can be in the worst of situations and being exposed and being able to come up with ways to handle it however you handle it. Like, we're not talking about, there isn't just one way to handle not being able to build something, right? You may be moving on from streaming. Is that what you're hearing? No. We're gonna have to do things slightly different in the future because it's I have to reveal the truth that there are actually three versions of me, and I'm secretly a triplet. So the other two, we're gonna have to just, you know, pull the cat out of the bag. That technically my workload has been separated by 3 people. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But in a way, that might be where I'm going, possibly. So after the projections, quote unquote, the projections, in the next 6 months, we might have to change up some stuff, largely because of the volume I'm gonna need. But that's we'll see what happens. Makes sense every time you go off screen to get a different. Yeah, the workload is kind of big, so we're gonna have to simplify the workload, right? And the thing I'm saying is, like, maybe language learning might not be as there is a chance that, you know, time and stuff will be deviated from common interest, obviously. So that's kind of the idea. Opportunities, I go where opportunities grow. I don't usually scoff at opportunity. Oftentimes, if you're someone who's very fixated on what you want to do, which is very valid, right? You tend to cling on to those opportunities. I don't really have an urge to have an idealized future anymore. I think I'm very competent in the idea that if I can help someone or engage with someone perfectly, sufficient. That's kind of the way it goes at the moment. And that's kind of one of the discussions that we had today. I like maximizing opportunities as opposed to giving people the impression that I'm here to specialize in a skill. With that said, it does not mean those skills do not come with me. I don't discard skills. So you bet that whatever happens in the future, we'll still be yapping about language learning and trying to, like, get them all together. It may not always be possible, obviously. So that's kind of the underlying subtext here. You try to keep all your things together, all your desires. You try to maximize all your things. Like, feel competent while always be interested in novelty, right? Those things will inherently make each other make a person's life very miserable, where you constantly want new things and exciting things and fresh things while thinking that you also desire to be skilled, competent, and an expert in something. They have very contrasting components. If something is fresh and new to you, then you are more likely to be not competent in it, right? And that's the duality of human condition, right? And you can compartmentalize those, obviously. You can be very specialized at your job while being very fresh and novelty seeking as a hobbyist. That's kind of a thing. However, if your hobby turns into a job, then you have to negotiate the idea that your hobby is either a job or a hobby, right? And that's probably a little bit of a thing where I'm leaning towards about the future of what is currently what we currently have now. I haven't decided if I want to turn in it. However, the opportunity seems like it's very possible soon. So that means sooner or later, I'm probably gonna fire Sub-Zero, even though I'm not paying him. And then, I don't know what to do with you yet, Lotus. Maybe I'll give you a permanent give you a permanent vacation too. Not paid, unpaid, unpaid, unpaid employees. Kidding. All right. Well, that's a different story for another time. Because Sub-Zero mentioned something about like becoming a therapist and stuff. I had thought about it actually. I thought about maybe the second best thing, which is to get like a certification in executive function coaching or something, kind of like a life coach thing. Because apparently there's not a great incentive to go back to get a double PhD, a second PhD in psychology in order to get licensed to be like a practitioner. That's like, it would be kind of fun though. Go back to university to work on a PhD in psychology and then like record, like talk about that and how that process works. I thought about it. Anyways, keep your options open, right folks? Keep your options open, Sub-Zero. I really like hearing about your negotiations and stuff on what you're doing in university. Lotus is too smart to be at a university, so he's already beyond that. I just kidding. Okay, that's a wrap for Shashingo. Tomorrow is the reinforcement day for the new set, so it'll be a review for tomorrow. Okay, so we're gonna change gears now. All right, thank you.